Picture this. You're reading what appears to be, by all accounts, a standard sports manga. The main character is a beginner in the sport of karate, while also having a natural talent for it. He goes through the basics, meets new friends, has a few tournament arcs, and gradually earns the skills and respect needed to aim for the top. And then, 30 chapters in, a sexual predator joins the main cast. That's what we're dealing with here. How's it going, everybody? It's your old pal Dennis, and today we're going to be talking about Karate Shoukoushi Kohinata Minoru. Hopefully I pronounced that right. This manga follows the adventures of Minoru Kohinata, a gymnast who keeps getting his ass handed to him by other gymnasts. And I don't mean literally getting his ass handed to him like some sort of cool trapeze trick. I'm saying he's getting beaten up by some bullies. Enter Ryo, the strongest karate practitioner at the school. And this school happens to be a university specializing in sports clubs, especially those of the martial arts variety. What starts as Minoru casually training in karate to gain some confidence and some skills, slowly turns into Minoru getting dragged into the brutal and disciplined world of true martial arts. Now, usually with a video like this, I might go into a review of the various storylines, characters, and art, just some basic general summaries of the overall plot. But I want to focus on a very specific arc today, a very infamous arc that most likely is the reason this manga, with over 500 chapters, never got an anime. We begin with Minoru, the main character, hanging out with a fellow karate club member. He heads out at night to go to the convenience store when suddenly a masked man appears behind him. I don't like that look. Surprised, Minoru puts up his guard and is tackled to the ground by this masked weirdo. He is then pinned to the ground and his mouth is taped shut. I really don't like where this is going. Before I can lose my non-existent monetization, Minoru's friend comes out and scares the attacker off, but not soon enough to prevent the trauma Minoru endured. We then cut to an argument between two club captains about a mysterious attacker on campus, and they suspect Ryo, Minoru's master, who also has a penchant for masks and attacks, although his are just about fighting. He is kind of an asshole, though. Probably should have mentioned that earlier. After further discussion, the judo club captain reveals he doesn't know who this culprit is, but thinks it's a good idea to frame Ryo. It's obviously this Pedro character, though, a fellow judo club member. It's clear at this point that the manga is treating these attacks as jokes. There's a lot of gay jokes, and Ryu's love interest is less concerned with the idea that he may be a predator and more with the fact that if he's gay, she doesn't have a shot. It's an interesting angle to take. The main joke here is that the strongest man on campus is taking a hit to his reputation. This continues in the next chapter where Ryu dresses in a Speedo to lure Pedro in, but gets mistaken for a pervert. Pedro goes after Minoru again and manages to evade him and the other guy's attacks with excellent skill. He even manages to block one of Ryu's kicks, who again was established as the strongest. They fight and Pedro manages to escape, but not before revealing his style. They eventually confirm it's him, and they even catch him in the act without his mask. Ryuji goads him into a rematch, betting Minoru as the prize. He, of course, gets his ass kicked and gets his nuts kicked and joins the karate club? This is genuinely the shittiest thing I've read in a while. So I'm gonna point out something real quick here, because it's not as if this is the first time the manga has dealt with perverts and predators. There were certainly some uncomfortable attempts on female characters, but those always failed, and they were at least treated as irredeemable actions. None of those characters join the main cast as a fucking joke. It's such a shit show, man. Now, when I first started this manga back in like 2009, there weren't a lot of long-running martial arts manga besides maybe like Kenichi. Because of this, I was super excited to find this martial arts manga, and I was especially excited because I read that Minoru's style of karate was based on Shoukoushi. Kyokushin karate, which I was super into at the time because I was a massive weeb. I still am, but I was too. Even then, I couldn't read that shit. Seriously, if you take a look at this character's page on the manga's wiki, it's almost comical how casually they just list off his crimes. Now, granted, this series did start in the early 2000s, 2000 to be specific. And during the early 2000s, this type of humor was not uncommon. Probably lasted throughout the whole decade. However, even within the time frame, it just doesn't fit with the story. The main problem here for me is the joining of the cast. The usage of the threat of violation to train Minoru in later chapters. He kind of gets shoehorned away, and the story is genuinely pretty good in the parts that don't have him, which is why it's an even bigger shame that he's in it at all in the capacity that he is, Pedro, I'm referring to. But overall, it's an annoying part of a manga that, for all intents and purposes, should be much better than it is. Now, I just wanted to rant a little bit about this because I was going through my old manga for review just because I wanted to knock a few out, get a backlog, and I came across this, and I got to that part and I was like, oh, right, this is the reason I dropped it. Good old Pedro. So, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'm curious if anyone's read this manga. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you maybe agree with me, or maybe you're thinking this guy is crazy. It's not that bad. You know, I'm always up for a discussion about Minoru, but even better, though, if you have some recommendations for martial arts manga without rapist characters, please send them my way. Thanks for watching.